Do you know we spend more than 50% of our screen time on browsers, be it Edge, Chrome, or Firefox? Since most of the time one of our browser is open, why don't we use this thing for our productivity? Isn't it unique? Let's try to build a browser extension that helps us to tracking our pending task that needs to be done. We will not only build this browser, we will also publish it. Okay, so let's see a demo of it. So this is our browser to-do list. Here we can add a new task whenever we want to add by typing the title of it and clicking the add task button. It will show in the task list. You can mark them complete, or you can also delete any task. Now you will see you can open a new tab and the extension will persist your task list. Now let's jump on and try to build this. So first of all, we will create a manifest.json that will store some of the extension metadata like manifest version. Currently it is 3. We can also add name of the extension here. These are mandatory fields, so we need to add. Description is the option field, so you can add it just for the information that needs to be visible for our users. So I'm writing one here. You can also mention the extension version. We are writing 1.0.0. We need to give icon information as well. That is the image which is being shown in the address bar and in your extension menu. So you need to provide different sizes, but currently I am just providing the same image for different size version. So you can download the files which you can get from the description box, and you can just copy them and paste in your extension folder. Now for the action you need to add a HTML file that is a pop-up which is being open for us. For this we will create one popup.html file. That is our extension UI. We can add the basic HTML here by giving some title information in the head part and adding some style tags that we will append later, but for now we are just adding the tag. In the body part we are just giving a header to-do list. Now let's try to see if we have added popup.html in the JSON file. Now let's try to deploy it on our local browser. So you can go to the extension menu and turn on your developer mode, and you can load unpacked your browser and it will be visible here. So you can see a minimal UI loads up for the browser extension. Now let's just give it some minimal styling, a fixed size of width and height, so that it looks appealing, right? And we are also giving a background color. Now on reloading we can see our browser extension is showing up in a yellow color. Now the next task is to add a static task list. So we'll create a unordered list element in our HTML, and since we have to load some dynamic number of tasks in this we are writing a script, and in the JavaScript we will create those elements, each representing some task items, right? So we will create a popup.js file, and we will add a event listener to load this file when the DOM content is loaded. So in this file we will first create some static tasks, and thereafter we will render them. So first of all, we are getting the task list element where we need to append all of our tasks. Thereafter we are creating a static task list. That contains 3 tasks for now. Now we have to render these 3 tasks. So for each of these tasks, we will call a method render task. Now let's define this render task method that will create a list item element. And here in the list item element we will give it a ID, and inside this list item element we will create one span element that holds our title. Now we will append this title as child of our item element, and thereafter we add that item element as a child of task list. So now we have written the logic. Now let's try to reload and try to see are our tasks being shown on the UI. So these are being shown. Our task is done. Next task is next task is to add checkbox along with the task, because it will not look like a to-do item if there is a no checkbox. So we are adding one more property to the task if the task is completed or not. So currently the task is not completed, so we are setting that value to false. And now we will create that checkbox element inside our task item. So we will create an input type of element and we will set it type to checkbox. Now we will set it, it says, by the property completed of the task. If the completed property is true, then we will mark it checked, otherwise unchecked. We will add this checkbox element in our task item. Now let's try to see how it is looking. So it is looking fine, but currently our extension is looking little boring. So let's try to add some styling to this. So first of all, we will set some styling to the task list so that it will not overflow. After certain limit, it will add a scroll bar, and for each of the task item we will align its element to the center, and we are adding a margin at the bottom so that it will have space between two tasks, and we are adding a justify content as space between, so it will keep all the content elements inside it far apart. And lastly, we are adding background color to light blue and will display settings to flex. Right, so this is how our task item will look like, and we will also add some settings for our task title. So our task title should take maximum width of 60%, and thereafter it will take the new line. So we are adding a property overflow wrap for this. Now let's try to reload and see how it is looking. So it is looking fine, but there is some space in front of our task item. So let's see why it is happening. So we can go and check. Okay, so in our task list we have to set our padding to 0. Now we can again reload and we can see here now it is looking fine. Right, so we have added a static task list and it has checkbox. Now on selecting any checkbox or marking them complete, there should be some functionality that can tick off your title, task title. Basically it will strike off the task title. So we are planning to add a class to the span item for the text title that will have a styling to mark, to strike off that particular text. So whenever that particular item is checked, we will add that class. So we are querying element by span tag inside our task item, and we are adding class as complete. And if the item is not completed, then we are removing that class tag. Now in the CSS part, we have to add the styling part for this complete class. So you can see the syntax of classes are different. It is initiated by a dot, and thereafter there is a text decoration. So you can see we are striking off the task title here whenever we are selecting it. Now the next task is to add the delete button in our task item. So in the rendering part of the task, we will create a delete button and we will create element for it. We will provide the icon which we have kept in our folder to this delete button. And we are providing an alternative text as well in case the browser the icon didn't load up. And we are also giving it a class name of delete button. And finally we will add a action what needs to be done on clicking that delete button. So we are writing one method that will delete our task whenever someone clicks on the delete button. And finally we will add this delete button to our task item. Now let's also define the delete task method. So we will delete a task item from the task list. So since task list is a list of element, then we are just removing one element from it. Now we will reload this and we will see if it is appearing. So you can see like there is a button added on the end, and but its UI is not appealing that much. So we will add some styling, basic styling to this delete button. We will first remove the background and we will remove the border, and whenever we are hovering or cursor on the button, it should show as a pointer, clickable item, right? So you can see here it is working correctly. We can delete the task item as well. Now we are currently working on a static list of item. What if we have to add a new item? So now the next task is to add a new item. So we will define an input text field and a button that will take the details for the new task. That is basically the task title. So we have defined them in our HTML. Now we have to provide what will be the action when we will click on them. Now we will add a event listener whenever the button is clicked. So we will write on method add task that will add a new task in our task list. So first of all, we will get the text, whatever the user has inputted in our task input element, and we will check if the text is not empty. Then we will try to make a task object that will contain the text and completed part as defined earlier. And thereafter we will call our render task method that will render this specific task element in our task list. And we will again reset the text input value to empty. Now we can see here, we can write a new task and we can, okay, this is not working. So we can see here why it's not working. Okay, so basically we had taken a wrong property. We should take the value property of the task input. Now let's try to load it up, and here you can see our new task has been added, right? So our new task is being added. We can play with its completion or deletion part, but we are seeing it is not persisting our task list. Whatever we are adding or updating, it's going away. So basically we will let's try to add some styling to this task input and add task button. So we can define a fixed width for task input, and we are just setting some background color so that it's look good. So it is looking proper. Now we can add a task, and you can see our task is added. We can mark it complete or delete. But now if you see, our tasks are not persisting. Like whatever updation we have done in our tasks are gone away. So we need a different thing that will store our state inside the browser extension. So we will need to give a permission of storage in our manifest.json file, and thereafter we can take that information which is saved in the browser extension memory and we can save it in it. So we can remove all the static data. Now we will fetch the task information from chrome.storage.sync API. So here our data is stored in task container. So if data is present, we will fetch it, otherwise it will be an empty list. Now in this we will call render task method for each of the tasks which are stored in our storage. So the whole aim was to fetch and render tasks, those are stored in storage. Now the next thing is we have to save our newly created task or updated deleted task list inside our storage, right? So we will write one method save tasks, so that will take all the tasks currently present in our task list, right? And it will try to bring out two things. One is the title of the task that we can easily get by checking its span element, right? And the other thing is the state of the task, so that we can get from the checkbox. If the checkbox is checked, then our task is completed, otherwise it is not completed. So we will just add this boolean property, and once we have created this dynamic task list, we will add this data to chromium.storage API. So here we will set that data in our task container, and after that, like on each of the updation task, we have to call the save task API. Like whenever we are changing the toggle or whenever we are deleting a task, we have to update this task list. Now you can see I can create some tasks, and these are appearing here. I have completed one task and deleted one task, and their state are maintained now. So you can see overall the state is persisting whenever I am switching to new task as well. Now let's just try to give it a attractive title or the header. So we just are polishing our UI just to look it better. So we are adding a image file that is already present in your folder, to-do-list.png, and we are just setting some property for it. So we are setting its width to 300 pixel, and let's try to see how it is looking up. So you can see our extension is ready and it is looking very attractive, and it is very productive for you to add new tasks and update them on the go. So we are done building our browser extension. Now you can play with it, you can add new tasks, you can mark them complete, you can delete them many times, you can even see if it is working. Now let's try to publish this browser extension. So we will just search for publish browser extension in the search engine, and we can go to Microsoft Edge link, and here you can see there is a partner center which you can open, and there is a developer registration. So you have to register yourself as a developer. So that is a straightforward process. You can read this article, I will share it in the link. Now you can register as a developer by filling a form. Thereafter you can go to the partner center and you can upload your developed extension here. So I am just clicking create new extension button. Here it is asking me to upload a zip file. So it should contain a manifest file, and it should contain the images which it require in the zip file. So I am making a zip folder for my extension, and thereafter I will add that particular zip file here. So it's kind of uploading my extension in the zip format. Now your package has been verified, and you can see there are several steps like packages, availability, property, store listing, right? So we can go ahead and continue this. Now in the visibility part we will mark it public. We don't need to change the market, so it will be available in all the 241 markets. We will save and continue. Thereafter in the properties we will pick a category that best describe our extension. So our category should be productivity, and since it don't require any policy, we can mark its support detail as no. Now we can go ahead and continue this. These are just optional field, so we can just go ahead and continue. Thereafter you can see in the store listing there is only one language, English US, so we can just go ahead and check here. We can add a description for our extension that will be visible in the store listing part. So I am writing a description, a minimal and attractive to-do list extension that will help in increasing productivity by tracking all active tasks and mark them complete on the go. Or delete the task. So it primarily summarizes our extension working. Now we can add a logo in the extension logo property. So we are just adding a logo here, and thereafter there are several other things like promotional tiles, screenshot, which we can add. So we have just uploaded one promotional tile as well that will be visible on the browser extension store page. Now we are providing some search terms. Based on that, our extension will show up in the store page. So I'm just writing some keywords like to do, task manager, to-do list, or task, or do it. So these are just some keywords. You can also add some keywords, right? After adding all the properties, you can just save draft, and your draft is successfully saved. after this, you can check out like how its analytics will look like. So these are just properties, whatever we have added. Now you can go ahead and check the analytics part, what all things you will see. So basically you will see your weekly users, number of unique instances when people use it, and how many people have installed it. And there are some reviews as well, like people can give some comments or ratings, so that will be visible here. Now let's see the overview of the extension and make it publish. So we can see all the details here, like URL, store ID, CRX ID, public key, product ID, and here we can see the status in draft. So we can make it publish, and here we can add some detail for the tester to test it. Otherwise we can just mark it publish as well. So after submitting your extension, it will take around 1 week of time for the team to review your extension. So your extension is in review state for the publishing on the browser store. So you can see your extension status is in review. So it will take around 7 business days to review the extension by the browser team. We have published our extension. Thank you for watching till the end, and hope you learned how to build and publish the extension. If it has helped you, feel free to share it to your friends, and do subscribe to my channel for such awesome content.